So I'm going to talk about her for a second. But let me just say this. For those of you who you're going to hear things about ABA throughout the month of April, and I want to make sure that we put out this disclaimer. I'm always a proponent of everybody getting their voice and being able to say what they want to say, and I especially welcome self advocates to have their opinions and their feelings about ABA because not everybody is a fan. I always like to make the distinction, though, and I've put this out before to the autism community, that if there are self advocates out there, individuals who are on the spectrum themselves who don't have a good opinion of ABA, I would like to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. If you would like to see the type of ABA that I'm talking about, please reach out to me. I would like to put you in touch with and have you have the opportunity to see what good quality ABA looks like, because I know what that looks like. I had the benefit of that. My child started with CARD when he had just turned 3. I think his first session was the week after his 3rd birthday. And the other day I'll be honest with you, I don't look at a lot of home movies because it's hard for me. It's really hard. Because it brings it all back up, right? And I always say to you guys, I can't know for sure everything that you all are going through, but I can have empathy because I know what we went through when our child lost basically all ability to communicate. And I was watching video the other day of his 3rd birthday and thinking about that moment when we were waiting to start with CARD, and I was so filled with fear. And I had said from the beginning that I would be willing to go to the mat for ABA, and that I would, once they explained to me what the science was, that I would fight for 40 hours if I, had saw the studies and saw that it worked, first of all, and I did, but that I had to know that he was going to be working with people who would not challenge his dignity or his sense of self-worth or make him feel like he was wrong. That nothing, and I loved one of the first things that CARD came in and said was, the individual is never wrong. When we're teaching somebody, they're never wrong. If this isn't working, then we change the teaching technique for that individual. It's never, in his case, child, but that goes for teens and adults too. But that they're not ever wrong. And the teacher in me and the mom in me clung to that, because it's that thing about do no harm. I just want you to know, as a parent, I would never sign my kid up to do something where he would be treated any other way than with dignity and the individual that he is. I love some of the comments that you guys are writing, and we're still waiting on our next guest. I might have to just talk about them. I don't know if they're going to make it here. Parker says, "Yay, I'm so happy to see these great employees get the recognition they deserve." I know, isn't it wonderful? And Kirsten says, "We love our therapists so much. I'm so sorry to hear. We all got sick with COVID and had to stop sessions for a few weeks, and that it's been really hard on her little guy. I'm so sorry. I hope speedy recovery." Huma is saying hi from Pakistan. She says, joining late. That's okay, because we still have much more here to cover. We are waiting right now to that our next guest, who might be having trouble connecting, we're going to switch it up a little bit, because before we showed you 2 clinical supervisors, but there's also a role at CARD that we call it short OM, but that stands for operations managers. These are the people, there's 1%er, which I always used to refer to them, but it's a little bit, I referred to them as the moms and dads, right? But, that doesn't completely cover it. They're like the chief cook and bottle washer at the different centers. They're the people who keep the wheels on, that make the schedules happen, keep the therapists happy, make sure that there's toilet paper, which can be challenging, make sure that the cleaning regimen in COVID is, the standards are being upheld. These people are remarkable people. They're not clinicians, but they're people who, it doesn't happen without them. And I just want to say this, that This is a role that evolved over many years at CARD, and it was called several different things. But I remember when we first came to CARD, and our home office, our center, was eventually it because it was where the headquarters was too. It eventually broke off to become the Woodland Hills Center. And but at the time it was housed in the old corporate office building, and so we would have to park underground underneath the building, and then we would get in the elevator to ride up to the third floor, which is where the clinical rooms were. And I would always be nervous, and we would always have this box that we would carry with us, plus two heavy books that would have all of our, this was before iPads had the programs, so this was all of his programming. And we would have to carry that with us, and we would be coming to the center. At the time we used to do this because this was the only time that we would be at the center. The rest of the stuff was being done at home. And so these meetings were 2 hours long. And so, the packing that has to happen for a 3-year-old on the spectrum that's going to be someplace for 3 hours, I would have to, have a change of clothes because we weren't toilet trained back then. I had to have snacks. I had to have, water for him, something to drink, so on and so forth, and maybe a toy or two, plus all this stuff. And it was always a lot for me. I get overwhelmed still very easily. And but there we would be in the elevator riding up, and we would know that when the elevator's doors open, that this woman, her name was JJ, and she was the first original OM. That she was the person keeping everything running and keeping both the families and the staff happy. So the doors would open, and there would be JJ. And we would always say to our son Jem in the elevator on the way up, we would say, now when the doors open, he didn't especially love elevators, and you only had to go 3 floors, it wasn't a big deal, but he didn't love it, and there was the possibility of tantrum getting on or off the elevator, like he wanted to take apart the doors, and so he wanted to stop everything. You can't really do that, right? But so we would try to distract him, and we would say to him, now when the doors open, JJ is going to be there, and want you to say, hi, JJ. Now, the first time that we told our son to say this, our son wasn't saying hi or anybody's name, right? He wasn't even making eye contact with us, but it's that wishful thinking, that you're still going to prompt it, even if, we didn't know how to get him to do it. But so the doors would open, and we would say, now say hi, JJ. And, in the beginning, it didn't happen. But very quickly, it started happening. At a certain point, they put in a program for him that's called Greetings and Salutations. It's in the skills program. And it teaches kids the myriads of ways that we greet people, that sometimes we just make eye contact and we nod, and sometimes we say hi, and sometimes we say, hey, what's shaking, right? All these different ways that we say hello to people. So then it became part of his program that the doors open, and the therapist would be there, and they would say hi to JJ. And over time, this, he didn't have to be prompted anymore. The doors would open, and he'd go, hey, JJ, right? And then we sort of added on to it because he was always fascinated. She had a ginormous fish tank in the waiting room, and she would be certain days, certain times that certain kids could earn the right to feed JJ's fish. And I just want you guys to know, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because this person ends up being a part of your story, right? And over the years, the doors would open, and he would say, JJ, is it my turn? JJ, what's shaking? Is it my turn to feed the fish? And then eventually they would have these big, long discussions about the fish, and they had a relationship. And that was them. And I had a relationship with JJ because I would call and say, I don't know what to do about this. Or JJ, we've had an emergency, and, I'm going to be 5 minutes late. I don't want the therapist to leave. I'm going to be 5 minutes late, right? All these different things that JJ was there for us. And JJ was a big part of our story. And sadly, JJ lost her battle with brain cancer last year. And I was so grateful that we had an opportunity to send her a card before she passed away. She had retired and moved away. But I had the opportunity to say to her, you were a big part of our story, and that I tell her part of our story often when I'm talking to operations managers. So these people are amazing people. And Holly was supposed to be with us, but she's not here. So I'm going to say some nice things about her. And, sometimes people are not fond of the operations manager because they also have to clean up messes and they also have to toe the line with certain things that they have to give tough love and say, this is the time that's allotted for your child to be here. It's so important that your child be here during that time. Although, sometimes stuff happens, right? So when I would call JJ, and not very often, but say, I'm caught, in this rainstorm, it's taking me longer to get home than I thought it was going to take. I'm going to be 5 minutes late. She would be understanding of that because it's beyond my control. But she would also remind me it's really important to think ahead, Shannon, because you don't want him to, if he lost 5 minutes every single session, that adds up to a lot. And you want this young man to go to college, right? Sometimes they're not the most popular people for things like that. But I have to say that for the next card star that we were supposed to be interviewing, Holly Willborn, who is the operations manager at West Palm Beach, she not only got nominated once, she got nominated twice. Stop. Isn't that awesome? And what they had to say about her is that she's someone who's always willing to step in, even if it means juggling multiple offices. Kind, she's supportive, she makes intelligent and strategic moves to help everyone's needs. How fabulous is that? And her second nomination, somebody said Holly is a great operations manager who ensures that her team and card families are always feeling supported. And actually, there was actually a third nomination from a parent who was talking about how amazing she is. She recently celebrated opening up the West Palm Beach Center, and shortly after didn't hesitate to jump in to help support another office and when her sister OM was out unexpectedly. So I just I'm so sorry that Holly is not able to be with us this morning. And probably what happened is something came up and that she needed to take care of and put a child's needs ahead of being here to hear how fabulous she is. But we really want to celebrate Holly today. And I want to say to you, Holly, when you watch this back, thank you so much. This is a hard, hard job, and you are doing so wonderfully at it. When this many people say that you're making a difference, then you have to know from the core of all of us how grateful we are to have you because you're making that difference every single day. And it adds up. And I know that for, forever until the end of time, we are going to be grateful to JJ. And even though JJ is no longer with us, we are going to continue to tell her story as part of our story, and her work lives on. And I know that you have a legacy with your families that is just as great as JJ's. So, Holly, I just really want to thank you for all that you have done and all that you will continue to do in West Palm Beach and in other places. Thank you so much, Holly. Sorry you're not here. There's Holly. Holly, we just finished saying wonderful things about you.
Hi, Shannon.
How are you? I'm literally crying, Holly. We were saying such wonderful things about you and you missed it.
Oh
Were
my
you
God,
busy?
that's so sweet. I'm so sorry. Trying the technology.
Technology, that's okay. Really quickly, Holly, I was just winding it up and saying that you didn't get one or two nominations, you got three,
Oh, really?
which is pretty. You really did, Holly, and I need for you to understand that that means you're doing something really remarkable there, and that you are adding to people's lives, and that it is appreciated more than you could possibly know, Holly.
I mean, that means a lot. I definitely try. I work hard, but it's that really means a lot. It's almost easier to take constructive criticism than it is for me to take any.
Well, I know that if Dr. Grant Pichet were here and she got called away for an emergency, but I know if she were here, Holly, she would want to thank you personally because it's people like you that make it possible for kids to reach that highest goal, to be, uh, to do the kind of things that their families have been hoping and praying for. that doesn't happen without you. And you're setting an example for so many other operations managers about doing this job and doing it with grace. I just really want to thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts.
Oh my gosh. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I
Honestly,
I mean, I've learned so much in my almost 6 years at Card. I've had amazing mentorship. I've like my leadership skills. Like I wouldn't have become the leader that I feel I can be now if it wasn't for the wonderful mentors I've had at Card. So I very much, we're all like it's a team, we're a family, and it feels like that. And that's how we work. And so.
especially during COVID, I think a
Mhm.
lot of this has fallen to you guys, the operations managers. You had everything that was going on before, plus now making sure that the ship stays afloat and that it floats safely. It's a lot to take in on any given time. What was your background before this, Holly? How did you come to be at Card?
Oh my gosh, I've had such a random path. I honestly, I was doing like I had a home pet care business, and I had did property management, but I had been a camp counselor in college, and I had worked with diverse populations in that role, not with just typical developing kids. And so when I kind of got reached a point where I wasn't getting that fulfillment from the jobs that I had, I reached out to a career counselor who really steered me toward more of like a helping profession. And I found Card on Indeed, and honestly, I felt very like, I mean, I was fascinated by by ABA, and it was just a whole new area for me to learn about. And when I get interested in something, I want to know everything about it. So that kind of, that kind of spurred me on. And in Colorado at that time, we didn't have any centers open yet. We had home services, and then we opened the center. I think within 6 months of me being there, and then I became a TL or BTL, and then I spent almost 2 years in that role and learned so much. It was incredible. And
So
then
you came in the door to do therapy, not to
yeah,
be an operations manager. At what
yeah.
point did you say, I want to run the ship?
I think like with that BTL role, when you get different experience, not just clinical, and I learned more. I felt like I would be more of an honestly more of an asset, more of a support for a center in that administrative role. I realized like the puzzle of scheduling and the complication of that was very interesting and enjoyable to me. And I just felt like I would be the role fit, at that time. Like when that opportunity came up, I knew I was ready for it at that time. And I was like, I think I can make more of a difference in this. I love communicating with the families. Like that's really important to me. I love I think for me making that difference, it was just the right path to take at that point. So
Well, I'm so glad that that happened, Holly, and I'm so glad that because I was saying before that I think for parents and caregivers, when somebody says, "Oh, I really enjoy working with kiddos that are tantruming," and we all think you're crazy, but then when somebody says, "Oh, I really like the puzzle of scheduling," I thank God for you because we need more people that find that fascinating. Because to me, that's the seventh ring of hell, but I know how important that is to making it all work. So I'm glad that you finally made it here, Holly, so that you could hear. But you'll have to go back and watch the show to hear all the things that we said about you beforehand because it was good stuff. You're remarkable. You are a card star. I hope that you stay happy and healthy and wonderful at Card for a really, really long time because you're remarkable.
thank you so much, Shannon. Thank you so much.
Thank
It means a
you,
lot.
Holly. You keep on keeping on and have a good weekend,
You
okay?
too. All right, take
Hugs
care.
to you. Thank you
Hugs to you.
so much.
All
All
right.
right, bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.